Hey everybody, what's up? Kevin here once again from the My Song of the Day Rock 2000 to Today YouTube channel. And today we're going to be revisiting my top 10 bands list of all time for me personally and seeing, now that it's 2020 and I've been at this for a year, what tweaks need to be made. The reason why I'm doing this is because since starting the My Song of the Day Rock 2000 Day project, I have been exposed to so many more bands and so many more musical styles since I started. And between 2019 and now, I have been immersed in a lot more styles, specifically more punk rock, more hard rock, but the one I've gotten into specifically has been metalcore. So, of course, with me getting into all these different styles of music, along with time passing, I've been able to take a look at bands I've listened to previously and figure out how they've affected my life in the past, whether it was from when I was in middle school, high school, college, going through the depression and suicidal tendencies I spoke about in my previous video, and also everything to deal with My Song of the Day Rock 2000 today. I've been able to reflect on that and see how these bands have impacted me. So, of course, that's going to change the list up, update it, and you're going to get to see that happen here. So, before we jump into this, you're going to be able to take a look at last year's list as well, so we can compare last year's list and this year's list to see how the movers and shakers happen. I'll also talk about what I like about the band's sound and how I resonate with that band's sound. So, enough of the mumbo jumbo. Let's get to number 10. So coming in number 10, I have 30 Seconds to Mars. Now what I like about 30 Seconds to Mars' sound is anything from their first 3 albums. So Discount, Love Lust, Facing Dreams, and America. I really don't like those albums, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But what I like about their sound on their first 3 albums is something that was a little bit different and something I really was able to resonate well with. Take a look at their self-titled album with songs like Capricorn, A Brand New Name, and The Mission specifically. They have this interesting, futuristic, spacey rock kind of style that was very hard pressed to find anywhere else, but when they did it incredibly well and it stood out. You go to their second album, Beautiful Lie, probably their best album, and it has more of the standard rock sound to it, but it has emo stylings put into it. So take a look at a song like Attack, which is my favorite song from the band. It has a faster paced rock sound to it, and I can't get enough of it, especially with the guitar intro. It is fantastic. Then you go to a song like The Kill, which is probably their most popular song, and has this real emo, dark, depressing feeling to it, and it ties in with The Shining very well with a more emo sense to it. Not super duper dark, but and sinister, but just dark overall. You go to the third album, This Is War, and it has more of this alternative and more pop rock kind of style, but it is rather uplifting and catchy. Listen to songs like Kings and Queens and Closer to the Edge. Those are songs I really resonate well with because they're hopeful, they're inspiring, but they're also, very calming at the same time overall. So how I resonate with the band is when I was going through that super duper depression, suicidal tendencies time, 30 Seconds to Mars is a band that I would really listen to in terms of trying to go forward and make sure that I could get to that next day and just keep going forward. Songs like Attack and Closer to the Edge, I would consistently listen to during this time. I remember a lot of times I was really feeling down and out at my old job. I would just kind of sit there and just freeze up, just kind of need to find a way just to center myself in a way and just kind of take a breath and say, okay, take this one day at a time, take this one moment at a time. Closer to the Edge, Attack, Kings and Queens really helped me out on that one. So taking a look at last year's list, they were at number 4 on last year's list and dropped down to number 10. Taking a look at the reasonings why, even though I have been to Camp Mars in 2018 and Mars Island in 2019, made incredible amounts of friends and had a great time at both of those locations. Why they dropped from 4 to 10 is, especially with their last 2 albums that are much more pop driven and more electronic driven, I really don't care for them at all. However, I still cannot discount the fact of what their 3 albums had on me personally in terms of impact. So they're still on here, but they're at number 10. At number 9, we've got Linkin Park, a very standard option, I think, for a lot of people in the rock and metal scene. So why do I like Linkin Park sound is because, especially when I first started listening to their stuff, I started listening to Meteora, not Hybrid Theory, Meteora, and it had that rap rock sound that was rather interesting, had a harder sound to it overall, and I really did start to resonate well with it. So take a look at songs like Line From You and Figure .09. They had this gruffer, harder sound to it that a lot of the music that I've been listening to growing up, it didn't have that rough, hard sound to it, especially with the more unclean vocals that Chester Bennington would have put out there. You take a look at a song like Somewhere I Belong, where it really mixes in more of that I think everything in terms of what Linkin Park could have been, or was, I should say, and it still is. When it comes to the rap rock styles of Mike Shinoda, you get these vocals from Chester, which are incredibly unique, and you get that hard sound that Linkin Park could really put out there. Plus, with Chester's unclean vocals, it really opened me up to more of a possibility of listening to harder stuff down the line. You listen to a song like Numb, which is much softer, really just focusing on what Chester's vocals do and can bring the power, and oh my god, does that just absolutely work. Then you jump into Hybrid Theory as well, and it's just, again, this is where it all started for Linkin Park, and this is where the rap rock sound really started to take hold in terms of what was going on in pop culture, because Linkin Park really did that with songs like In the End and Crawling, even though for myself personally, I really like Paper Cut and Points of Authority. Now, why do I resonate well with the band? A couple of reasons. One, when it comes to the unfortunate thing that happened with Chester Bennington, listening to their One More Light album, specifically One More Light and Heavy, again, not my favorite songs from them, but I was really able to resonate well with them, and it just really brought me in and made me kind of just think that I wasn't alone during that whole entire time. Plus, when it came to the introduction of some things that were harder, there were two bands that really did that before I really got into my own musical taste, really kind of let me down the path to that. One being 3 Days Grace, the other being Linkin Park. Plus, Chester Bennington's vocals, they allowed me to really start getting more of that gruffer, harder, hard rock sound or metal sound with the unclean vocals as well. It really opened me up overall. Now, taking a look at last year's list, they jumped up one spot from number 10 to number 9, which again, just very consistent from Linkin Park in my ratings. They're not going to be like my favorite band of all time, but do they deserve a spot in the top 10 for what they've done for me and just the fact that I really like their sound, specifically on Meteora, Hybrid Theory, and a song like Given Up? Oh yeah. So now we come into number 8, and that is the Foo Fighters. And why I have the Foo Fighters at 8 on this list is because they just have this consistent sound that I can always depend on to be good no matter what. Whether they go with a softer sound on certain songs, such as Walk or Times Like These or Best of You or their most popular song Everlong, they have a little bit more of a deeper meaning to it. You're really able to get kind of lost in that deeper meaning and just really kind of just connect with what Dave Grohl is trying to put out there. Or you can go with the harder songs as well with that more hard rock sound like No Way Back, Monkey Wrench, Pretender, or White Limo, where the band's just having a good time out there playing great rock music, just blasting it, having a great time. And like with White Limo, they're not taking themselves too seriously, which I think is a huge thing on this. So why do I resonate well with the band? When it comes to the Foo Fighters for me is the perfect bridge between the music I grew up on and the music I like today. What I mean by that is the music I like today, where I like that hard rock, punk rock, and metalcore style. What I used to listen to when I was a kid was what my dad would listen to, which was like that 80s rock, like ZZ Top, Van Halen, Rush. So when I think about it, when him and I listen to music, if I put on the Foo Fighters, it's just this perfect blend of what I like, what he likes, and when I listened to when I was a kid comes together, and this is what we get with the Foo Fighters. I absolutely love it. Taking a look at last year's list, they were at number 5. This year they dropped 3 spots. This doesn't have anything to do with the quality of music the Foo Fighters have been putting out. While I still like the Foo Fighters, it's just different styles of music and different bands have come in to the list, which you'll see in a little bit. And I just don't connect the Foo Fighters as much as I do with these other bands. So from 5 to 8, I think it's a good, not that big of a drop for me, but they still got to be on the list. Trust me. At number 7, I have Motionless in White. And when it comes to their sound, they have this gothic metalcore sound that I got introduced to at the beginning of 2019. And why I like that sound so much is because this was the sound that got me introduced into metalcore and made me want to listen to it. So when you take a look at their initial album, Creatures, with songs like Immaculate Misconception and Abigail, you get this hard, driven sound that just has this full-on metal sound to it, but also has that punk rock influence, that hardcore punk influence to make the metalcore. But when they put their gothic twist on it as well, it's just something that's a little bit sinister to it, but it hits hard, especially Immaculate Misconception, which is incredibly sinister. Of course, as Motionless White has gone on throughout their career over the past 10 years since the release of Creatures, I've seen them grow more into that gothic metalcore style and try a couple of different things while not losing it. I mean, the band still goes absolutely hard like they did on the first album with that intense and hard-driven metalcore style on songs like Thoughts and Prayers and 570. But then they also can go slower and more incredibly elaborate and even more emo, more what's the right word? Emotional on a song like Another Life. Then you get to a song like Eternally Yours, which I absolutely love because everything that Motionless can do in a song, I think is perfectly encapsulated in Eternally Yours. Whether it's that hard, rough metalcore sound, the gothic style, the clean vocals that Chris can provide, it is fantastic. Now, why do I resonate well with the band? Motionless in White is the band that got me into metalcore. Now, I've heard metalcore songs before and metalcore acts before. I saw Killswitch Engage back in 2015. However, there was no metalcore act that really got me interested in the genre. When someone suggested Motionless in White to me, I listened to Voices and I liked it. Then I went to Eternally Yours, and that's what got me into the genre. I love the dark, sinister tone. I love kind of where they're going with it, especially with the gothic style. And when I saw them in concert, the 2 times I saw them in concert, oh man, were those shows just energetic, fun as all hell, and I couldn't get enough of it. That was also where I cut my eye. Now, last year's list, they weren't even on there. They came in at number 7, and it's just, they're the band that got me into metalcore. I still love listening to their sound. Eternally Yours is probably going to end up being on a top 10 favorite songs list for me if I ever compile that list. I got a couple on there, but Eternally Yours is probably going to end up landing on that list. And overall, I mean, I actually really am liking Motionless in White. I do like their new album as well, and I can't wait to see what the next decade has for them, so I can keep on listening. Coming number 6, I have Skillet. Now, why I like Skillet is when I look at their sound, when they go with that hard rock sound and lyrics that are not as overtly about Christianity, which have a little bit more of an abstract meaning to them that can be taken. So it could be about Christianity, it could be about God, but it could also be about what you're dealing with yourself and your personal relationships and just life in general. I really do like when they go with that. So take a look at songs off of the Comatose album, like Comatose, Whispers in the Dark, and Rebirthing. Yes, you can easily take them for their Christian meanings as well, but they're a lot easier to turn around and kind of interpret them in terms of, like with Comatose, your personal relationship with someone that you absolutely love. Whispers in the Dark, being alone, you know, thinking about the people that are there for you whenever you feel alone. And Rebirthing, feeling like you kind of defeated something that was really bad in your life. But when they go with the hard rock sound, they have that more anthemic driving feel to make you not want to stop, such as Feel Invincible, Legendary, and of course, Not Gonna Die, my favorite. It's just something that makes you want to drive and just not stop. So why I connect to this band so well is, you know, just really taking a look at it. I don't connect with every single thing that they've ever done, but especially with the songs that I've listened to, they've helped me out through so much. Last week, I made a video detailing my top 10 Skillet songs of all time, and I was able to really reflect on Skillet's sound and how it helped me with that hard rock sound that I like, just to drive me forward, just to keep me going, especially during the time of depression and suicide, where Rise Against was a band that would keep me back, you know, bring me back to normal. 30 Seconds Mars was a band that would help me fight one more day. Skillet songs were the songs that would help me fight to the absolute end. So when I take a look at Skillet's music, it's something I resonate well with because it keeps me thinking that, and I'm inspired to keep going, keep driving, and to not stop. So taking a look at their place on this list, they were not on this list last year, and they jumped up to number 6. And this is where the jump up where it's, you know, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Victorious after my initial listen through. I absolutely love the album. As I'm going later on in life, it's just like, you know what? It's just not hitting nearly the same. But when I take a step back and look at everything that Skillet's music has ended up doing for me, yeah, they deserve a spot on this list, no doubt. At number 5, I have Breaking Benjamin. When I take a look at Breaking Benjamin's sound, they have this alternative metal sound that is uniquely theirs, but they are so in tune with it and just focus on it specifically, kind of don't really experiment off of it. And I know a lot of people do have a problem with that. For me, I just think it's great because they found their niche, they found what they were able to do, they found their great sound, and they just stuck to it. And you know, when I take a look at it, they do kind of change up a little bit, but it's all terms of the mood that they're able to put off with their music. If you listen to the Dark Before Dawn album, which is their release in 2015, songs like Never Again, A Failure, and When Angels Fall. Or is it just Angels Fall? Yeah, it's just Angels Fall. And Give Me a Sign as well, maybe Dear Agony. When you take a look at those songs, they have this, you know, more depressive, drawn back, just kind of somewhat defeated tone to him as well, but it also makes you think and go forward and think about, you know, maybe there was a time that happened in your life to you, but you're able to really connect well with it. There are songs that have that kind of have that more alternative metal sound, but they go harder on, such as Polyamorous and Red Cold River. And I like when they do that because it's a little bit more driven, it's a little bit different for them, and it just provides a lot more energy, especially Red Cold River, which is probably my favorite song from the band. When I did a top 10, I said Red Cold River was my favorite song from Breaking Benjamin. That's right. Also, if you want to see everything rolled into one, go to probably their most famous song, Diary of Jane. Now, why do I resonate well with the band? I was listening to Breaking Benjamin hard when I was in college, especially my junior and senior year. And the reason I was listening to them was because Breaking Benjamin made me feel like it was like the perfect, transition band in life. Well, I was going from one point in life to the other. This time, it was from this college life, from this student life, to all of a sudden, graduating, going to the real world, going into this unknown. And it was something where going in the unknown with Breaking Benjamin music, even with the somber tone, even with the rougher tone, it sounded something like, you know what? You're not knowing what's going to go forward in life, but in the end, that sound is going to tell me, is like, you know what? You're not going to sure what you're going to see. It's a little bit of the unknown, but you're still going to end up getting there anyway. So taking a look at last year's list, they were at number 6 last year. They jumped up 1 spot to number 5. And even after they released their Aurora album, which I was rather disappointed in because I was expecting acoustic reimaginings, such as similar to the Rise Against Ghost Note symphonies, that we didn't get. It ended up being just an acoustic version of a bunch of their songs. I was disappointed in that, but it was still a good album, don't get me wrong. However, it's just that still that somber tone that they're able to put out in all of their music. It really helps you reflect, look back, and even when you get Red Coal River when Ben Burnley screams run, oh yeah. At number 4, I have the Hollywood Undead. Now, I still remember going to my first Hollywood Undead concert back, and I believe it was 2012. I had no clue who the band was. My friends wanted to go. I just kind of went with. And when I first heard that rap rock sound, I'm like, this is something I really like. Then they came up for the encore and played Everywhere I Go. I'm like, oh my God, this is the Charlie Sheen song. I was kind of laughing about that. But of course, as that concert ended, I wanted to listen to more and more, even though they only had 2 albums out at the time. And I really loved this rap rock sound they had because it was abrasive. I mean, it was in your face, and it's like, you don't just give a shit about what's going on. Especially when I'm 16, 17 years old. Of course, I'm going to go right for this kind of music. Who the hell wouldn't? As time has gone on, of course, I've listened to more of their albums, and I've gone through ups and downs of the band. Notes from the Underground had much more of a deeper and, again, somber tone to it compared to American Tragedy and Swan Songs, but I thought that was their best work to date. Day of the Dead kind of brought it back a little bit to more that rougher style, a little bit more rock in there. 5 kind of was a little bit softer in my opinion. We didn't really care for it. But then New Empire Volume 1 came out and they kind of mixed everything in there. But they went back more to like a harder sound like they did on some of their early works, which I really did like. I mean, songs like Enemy and Heart of a Champion really bring back that abrasive in-your-face mantra, which I absolutely love. But it's more or less in your face of in your face. So what we're doing, it's in your face. This is what you need to do to make sure that you are doing what you want to do. Now, how I resonated with the band was, again, when I was 16, 17, I was listening to a lot of hard rock, punk rock, but there was just something missing where I wanted something, more, edgy, abrasive, in your face kind of thing. And listening to Hollywood Undead brought that for me, and I couldn't get enough of it at the time. Still, even when I was in college as well, when they dropped the Day of the Dead album, I couldn't get enough because it was that hard rock sound. And then going forward now, again, it's more in your face, but it's more in your face for personal betterment. Taking a look at last year's list, I had them at number 3. This year they dropped to number 4. And this is by no means the fact that they dropped down 1 spot because I just don't like them as much. I still do like the band, but I'm not going to lie, spoiler, the reason why they dropped is because some bands skyrocketed up there. So, let's go to the next one. So now at number 3, I have Disturbed. Take a look at Disturbed sound. Like, this was the band that started really making it so that I was going to have my own musical taste. Like, this is where the whole entire thing basically started. Not like way at the beginning, but this is like the absolute moment where it's like, okay, this is where it starts. And let me tell you why. So back when Guitar Hero 3 came out, I mean, I was listening to a lot of different things, but like if I was listening to anything harder, it was like 3 Days Grace. All of a sudden, you're playing the 7th set, and all of a sudden it's like they've got Before I Forget by Slipknot, 3 and 7s by Queens of the Stone Age, and Night Sidonia by Muse. All of a sudden, then there's Stricken by Disturbed. But when I played it, I absolutely loved it and couldn't get enough of it for 2 reasons. The first was it was a metal sound that I really liked because it wasn't as quick pace and just aggressive at the time that I was really looking for. So it wasn't as quick pace. It wasn't as aggressive as Before I Forget by Slipknot. It wasn't as quick pace as Beast in the Harlot by Avenged Sevenfold. And it was something that was a lot easier for me to get into. And then also listening to the vocals from David Draymond, they were so unique and so powerful. It was like, someone preaching right into your soul. It was absolutely fantastic. And of course, going forward, I mean, I take a look at the sound. They keep going with that sound where it's not as fast or as hard of metal, but it's still hard. It still hits, and David Draymond's vocals still do not relent. Now, why I connect with this band is this is the first first band I ever considered to be my favorite band of all time when I was in middle school. When I was in middle school, everyone was always listening to the same stuff. It was all the pop stuff, you know, and of course I didn't really resonate well with it, even though I tried to fit in. After about like 6th grade, when Guitar Hero 3 came out, or maybe that was 7th grade, I don't even remember anymore, but all of a sudden I heard I started getting into Disturbed more. I started listening to it a lot. I started listening to 10,000 Fists album all the time and the Indestructible album all the time. And going forward as well, the themes on those songs were dark and sinister, but they were more hopeful than some of the other ones as well, as you would hear. Mostly because David Draymond's vocals would pierce your soul with that kind of a style. As time has gone on, yes, the content is getting a little bit more personal, but David Draymond's vocals still absolutely hit it. So why resonate well with this band, and why... Oh, actually I said that. So taking a look at their ranking, they were at 2 last year. They did go down number 3. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't anything on the band where I still love their sound. I got to see them in concert twice, and I got to see them with one of the Disturbed Fighters of the Month, and I formed a very great friendship with her. Her name's Kathy. Fantastic person, and it's just the connection that Disturbed's music has on me is something that I'll never forget. But it's not that I don't like them less. It's, again, one band just skyrocketed to the top. So let's go number 2. Coming number 2, I have Ice Nine Kills. Why do I have Ice Nine Kills at number 2? When I think about metalcore, Motionless was the band that got me into metalcore. Ice Nine Kills was the band that cemented it for me in 2009. Hell, I didn't even listen to all of Ice Nine Kills music except for like 2 songs before I saw them live in concert 2 days after Halloween in 2019. And I got 19 songs of just epicness, and I was at that show. I mean, I was in a state of euphoria, which I'll explain a little bit. When I listen to their sound, though, it is something incredibly unique, especially on their previous 3 albums. You take a look at Predator Becomes the Prey, and they have this metalcore sound to it, but what they do is they twist it to make it sound like they're more in a horror movie that the band created. So it has this just dark, sinister, evil feel to it, but it's just something that, you know, is more cinematic in nature, which is absolutely amazing. Then you jump to Every Trick in the Book, and every song has that metalcore style to it, that horror style to it, but the feel of the song is like how you would feel that book reading, like whether it's Nature of the Beast, which is based off of Animal Farm, or The Plot Thickens, which is based off the story of the 1972 rugby team from somewhere in South America that crashed in the Andes Mountains and had to eat each other to stay alive, or whether it's Hell in the Hallways, which is based off of Carrie. I mean, when you listen to it, you really get to feel like you're in those books, and even though we all are able to read differently and interpret these feelings differently, I think they do a fantastic job on there. Then you get to the Silver Scream, which in my opinion is an absolute masterpiece because they take well-known movies of, you know, the horror genre, of course, and what they do is they're able to take their metalcore sound and play around with it so much so that these songs sound like Ice Nine Kill songs, but they also have the feel of the horror movies that they're a part of, and they do it absolutely perfectly. Take a look at Your Numbers Up, which is the bonus track. It literally sounds like this is part of the intro to Scream. Take a look at Stab in the Dark. It has this hard, fast-paced sound to it, which makes you feel like you're in Halloween with Michael Myers trying to stalk one of his victims and kill. You take a look at a song like A Grave Mistake, where it's a lot softer, but it's based off of the movie The Crow, and the guitar solos really sound like the guitar solos that Brandon Lee plays in that movie. It is the most experimental track in the album because they make this metalcore fun sound with it. They mix metalcore and kind of ska music to give out this evil carnival vibe to it, but it's based off of Stephen King's It with Pennywise the Clown, so it makes total sense. As I kind of went back into it, I mean, I listened to this album for about 4 straight months because I couldn't get enough of it, and it's probably one of my favorite albums of all time, easy, probably coming in at number 2. So why do I resonate well with the band? Again, when I go back to that first show I saw them, it was so much fun. I got caught in that state of euphoria where it was nothing else mattered, and I was just in complete bliss and happiness. Whether I was getting knocked around the mosh pit, I didn't care. I didn't care about anything, even if I got a cut on my eye if I did during that show. Didn't matter because I've connected so well with that music, just the hard sound. It's so much fun to listen to for me, whatever it might be, just the horror trope of it. Oh my God, I can't get enough of it. So take a look at last year's list. I didn't even know who Ice Nine Kills was the last time I made a list like that. And the fact they jumped all the way up to number 2 is amazing. I think the biggest reason I jumped it to number 2 was because that seeing them at the live show and hearing the music for the first time and just connecting with it in that state of euphoria and bliss of just pure happiness, it makes total sense. But not able to crack number 1 because number 1, man, that state of euphoria is too strong. All right, now it's time to go through some honorable mentions. The bands that I do absolutely love, but were not able to make the top 10. So let's go to it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for number 1. So coming in number 1, my favorite band of all time, 2020 edition, is Rise Against. And when I take a look at Rise Against and why I love their sound, when I was going into high school, I absolutely still loved Disturbed. They're my favorite band. However, I was more of a rocker, a more punk rock kind of guy, and I wanted something with that pace and that was going to be a little bit more catchy that I could really get into. That's when I first heard Savior by Rise Against on my way to high school, and holy shit, did that just take me off. Because when I first listened to it, it had that pace that I wanted. It had the rock sound that I wanted to it, and it just had this overall catchiness that I couldn't get enough of, and I wanted to listen to more Rise Against after it that wasn't Savior or Prayer of the Refugee to really go forward into it. And I knew that they had a rougher sound because of Prayer of the Refugee, but I wanted to jump into it. But overall, their sound is something that I find absolutely incredible. Take a look at everything before the Suffer and the Witness album, where they have this more raw punk rock kind of style to them, where it's rough, it's gruff, and it's in your face. But when you take a look at it, the level of sophistication in the writing, especially in the lyrics of those songs, is utterly fantastic from Tim McElrath. It's something that you're really able to deconstruct fully, even though it's going to be rough in your face punk rock style. Anything after the Suffer and the Witness has something that I call more of a polished punk style to it, where they still have that punk rock sound, but it's just not nearly as rough or raw as it once was. However, it is still constructed beautifully almost every step of the way, and there's still so much density to those songs because of the lyrics and the writing styles of Tim McElrath. But if you want to find the perfect blend between that polished punk style and that raw punk style, you gotta go to the 2006 album, The Suffer and the Witness. I think that is the best album of all time, in my opinion, because I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of it. It is a perfect album to listen to like almost any given time, and I just think it's fantastic. So why do I resonate well with Rise Against? And it's because if I think of a band that really I've kind of have like myself invested in and brings me back to normalcy at times, this is Rise Against. While they are a punk rock band, I don't always agree with their political stance. Again, it's still something that I can really listen to and just kind of get back to myself being centered. And at times in life where I've gone completely off the rails, whether emotionally or mentally or anything like that, and I need just to reset myself, I will listen to Rise Against music because it always makes me feel confident in who I am as a person and know that who I am as a person is who I should be. And when I go and see their shows, no matter what show it might be, whether it's the first show I ever saw them at, whether it is the show where I met this girl at that I ended up dating for a year, we broke up, and it went me in that whole downward spiral that I needed Rise Against, 30 Seconds to Mars, and Skillet to get me out of, that ended up starting my song Day Rock 2000 a day. Whether it was the 2 shows after meeting her and breaking up with her that helped me get back to normal, and the Riot Fest show in 2019 that was absolutely off the wall bonkers. I mean, these shows are the shows that I feel the utmost state of euphoria at, where I feel like I am me and there is nothing better than that. I mean, I am numb to everything else except pure happiness when I see these shows, so they resonate so well with me. Take a look at last year's list. Yeah, Rise Against was number 1. They ain't moving. Alright guys, that's it for me. Thank you for watching the Redux on the top 10 bands from me of all time, 2020 edition. And yeah, there were some big movers and shakers in there like Skillet and Ice 9 Kills, and 30 Seconds to Mars going down, but number 1, Rise Against still stays the same. If you like the list, give me a like. If you dislike, give me the dislike, but put in the comments what you like or dislike it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, the bell icon, to be notified of release videos every single Wednesday and the podcast videos every single Tuesday. If you're not subscribed to our social media pages, please do so. So, like us on Facebook, you can find out anything gets released. Twitter, you can find out anything gets released. Plus, it's easier to talk to us on Twitter. Instagram is our biggest platform where you can talk to us. We ask you questions. You can watch your IGTV videos, which is a Tuesday night thing. Every Tuesday night, we get a behind-the-scenes look at what we're doing. And our Instagram live streams every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central. Join us for an hour, talk to us about music, have some fun. Link in the description below. Get those out of here. We're going to talk about the Chord Progression Podcast. It is our very own podcast where we are going much deeper dives into bands that you're going to want to know going forward. So there are the big bands, then there are the emerging bands. Those are the ones you're hearing on the Chord Progression Podcast. We're interviewing a lot of emerging bands in the United States and outside as well, so that when these bands get big, you can say, hey, I got it on them early on the Chord Progression Podcast. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or watch videos right here on our YouTube channel right here. Link description below, so get that out of here. And please enable our Amazon Alexa skill if you have not done so already, because that's where you can listen to the whole entire Song of the Day feature. Now, the Song of the Day feature is our most important feature because this is what drives everything, because when you listen to a Song of the Day, it allows you to get more expansive in your rock and metal knowledge. So, it's going to end up helping you fall in love with bands you used to love, fall in love with bands you're going to love, fall in love with songs you're going to love, and be able to talk with so many people around those songs and bands that absolutely love them, so you're going to be able to connect with other fans. And you're able to enjoy our Small Band Saturday feature, which is every single Saturday we feature a smaller emerging band. So again, you can get in the know with bands that are going to be the biggest come the end of the 2020s. So that's it for that, and I want to thank you guys for watching this video. This is another fun one because I got to go through my personal top 10. Haha! And as always, thank you for watching. This is Kevin from the My Sunday Rock 2000 Today YouTube channel. And flip. Ow. Also, this is the last video I'm going to be making. Nope, not the last video I'm going to be making with this backdrop. I got one more after that. But see ya!